Hey, John and Krista, thanks so much for the kind introduction. Evan, so excited that you were able to take the time to sit down and talk to me today about Icon and 3D printing in an industrial setting. You've been one of the most innovative people that I've had the opportunity to meet along my AFWERX journey, and I'm so grateful to be able to spend this time with you. So how's it going?
It's going great, Swath. Thanks so much for your time, man. And I love that the Air Force is moving towards the mountain man look as a new dress code. So congrats on the beard. It's really coming in nicely, buddy. So
thank you. My wife's really proud of me too. 10 years is a long time. Really need to give her something else to look at, right? So anyways, 3D printing. What is this 3D printing? Is it little scale buildings? Is it industrial size? You know, I talked to my mom about this. She's like, oh yeah, I've seen those things in the store before. So what are you guys doing that's unique and different?
Yeah, great question. My mom shares your mom's experience with 3D printing. It's super small, but this is actually construction scale 3D printing. That's why Icon exists, really. And so what we do is our first automation is robotics. We're using software and a kind of a special mix of concrete to 3D print entire houses, not tiny houses, but like real size houses. We can also print barracks. We can also print barriers and Texas barriers and all kinds of other things like that. So we're categorically different in a lot of ways than what people traditionally think of as 3D printing.
Oh, very cool. So, you know, I know the backstory here, but for the audience, how did you get connected with the Air Force and with government work in general?
Yeah, if it's okay, I'll just share a little bit about our origin story at Icon and then intercept that with the Air Force. But we started Icon for we're a dual use technology about 2.5 years ago for one very simple reason. We wanted to end the housing crisis, and it's a sad reminder that America is under-sheltered. There are 1.1 billion of our brothers and sisters in the world that do not have a home. And this was something that kept us up at night. And that's why Icon was started, is to solve this crisis. And so we 3D printed the first house in the United States in my buddy Taylor's backyard. And that got a lot of notoriety, and that we had about 1.4 million homes requested online. And so it was a pretty insane experience, but we felt like we were headed in the right direction. And the housing industry, and I would just say construction in general, is the only industry on earth that has not incorporated robotics, it has not incorporated software and advanced materials. There are some minor exceptions, but for the most part, we've been building homes and buildings the same way for about 1,000 years. And that's not an exaggeration. If you're going to go back to the Middle Ages, you'd have like sticks and bricks and mortar and some nails and stuff like that. And so what we wanted to do is have like a paradigmatic shift in construction with Icon to like solve these existential challenges that we have as humans. And along that journey, shortly after we did this first 3D printed house, there were 3 wonderful people that came by our office, and they knocked on the door and they said, hey, we've heard that Icon is 3D printing houses. Can we learn more? And those people were Jen Mars, who's a tech scout for AFWERX.
Love Jen. She's phenomenal.
She's wonderful. She's somewhere in the world right now. I don't know where she is, but she's somewhere. Stoichi is his real name is Alex Goldberg. He's this fast-talking former fighter pilot that got all excited about what we were doing, and a contracting officer named Jorge Manresa that does some work and that had some experience in Red Horse. And I was like, I don't even know what Red Horse is, but this sounds fun. And so we got intercepted in the early days by the Air Force, which was just fascinating because we didn't think that our technology would have any relevancy to the DoD for the most part. We were like, we're going to solve housing. And the Air Force said, hey, if we care about those things too. We do a lot of humanitarian missions around the world. We build things in very austere environments and forward deployed settings. We have on-base housing issues, just like the rest of the world, and the rest of America. So we want to work with you. And shortly after that first meeting, a wonderful man named General Sevi Wilson came by our lab and said, this is awesome. Let's do something together. And he texted a gentleman named Dr. Will Roper, and I flew up to the Pentagon, met with Dr. Roper, and the rest is history. And the Air Force said, let's do something special together. So we've had an incredible relationship thus far with the Air Force that's kind of blossomed into some different parts of the DoD as well.
So that had to be kind of an interesting decision, though, to work with the government or not work with the government. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you faced from maybe some of your investors about doing work with the DoD?
Yeah, I think we were super we were excited, and that excitement withered really quickly when we started talking to our first investor, and they said, "Hey, I've heard working with the DoD is just a terrible decision. It takes too long. People are slow. The contracts are not even that sticky. Like if they say they're going to do something, they might change their mind. And so, proceed with caution, and you're not going to get any brownie points, so to speak, from a valuation perspective by working with the government." That's kind of pretty consistent feedback. And the good news is we didn't really listen to the feedback. We were like, okay, well, that's fine, but we think this technology has potential in like multiple different domains and multiple different verticals, from infrastructure to housing to civil construction to the military. And so we didn't want to limit it. And I think kind of putting our fingers in our ears and choosing to kind of learn a little bit more about what the Air Force would want. I'm really glad we made that decision, because working with the Air Force specifically has been like both a dream come true, because it's so fun to work with the federal government, but also like learning about the needs of our warfighters and how we can serve what I think is an industry that's like ripe for disruption. So,
for sure. So, I mean, that kind of tees up what current projects do you have going on, not just with the Air Force, but across the DoD enterprise?
Yeah, across the DoD. So after that initial meeting that we had with General Wilson and some others, the Marine Corps caught note of it as well, and specifically the Defense Innovation Unit. And we went under contract with them very quickly. Their needs were different than the Air Force, but needs certainly that Icon could solve. We also got connected a little bit with the Army, but the Army's hasn't been as quick on the draw, so to speak, as the Air Force and the Marine Corps. So we're still hoping to kind of have some more fruitful discussions with them. And then a big surprise was with NASA. And I can't say anything publicly at this point, but it will come as no surprise to you, Swath, that you can't bring 2x4s and drywall to the moon. It's just not going to hold up very well, unfortunately. So you've got to use robotic additive manufacturing on the moon and Mars. And there's going to be a new space race that we're already starting to see. I think just yesterday, China announced that they want to dominate space and set up the first kind of not a habitat on another planet, but basically like a colony on the moon. And I think with our technology and our brilliant engineers that are really making all this possible, the U.S. is going to have like an incredible leg up on getting back to the moon and getting to Mars and doing some things where we can actually stay there and not just drive around on a moon buggy and then come back. So can't say much more about NASA, but I think in the next couple of weeks we'll have some big news to share.
Talk about a base of the future. Definitely a base.
That's right.
Out there, man. That's awesome.
Astronauts need homes too. So
for sure. So you seem to have plenty of experience now with doing government acquisition and some of the pros and cons that come with that. If you could give one key measuring stick that the government should look for so they can do business better with companies such as yours, what would that measuring stick be, or what would that metric be?
I think the one measuring stick for an early stage company like Icon is when it comes to the government is like speed, because the private markets, if I meet with an investor and they're like, this is interesting, let's do this, they can wire money the next day. That's fast. And if I meet with a customer, let's say a large developer, and they say they want 100 homes, I've got the land, let's go, here's a contract, sign it, that's fast. And with the government, it's unless you've got a special contracting kind of, moratorium. I know RapidX is trying to get faster, but the only thing that matters for us is speed for the most part when it comes to the government. And so if I had an OKR, which is like an objective and key result for the government, I would just say like, how long did it take from initial conversation to when they actually have a signed contract? And my gut tells me that that's 9 months to a year right now. And I think if that were to kind of carry on in the future, our adversaries are just going to kick our ass. And I'm saying that as a civilian. I'm just like, I would be very worried that we're going to be able to actually, we talk a lot about innovation in the DoD, but we're actually so slow that we can't actually do it. So that'd be the only thing I'd humbly kind of throw out there.
Oh no, hey, that's a fair knock, and it's definitely something we're working on, getting faster and faster at getting people on contract. You know, we had a few opportunities with pitch bowls, pitch days to get people on contract in a day, much faster. But then, you know, with speed, sometimes there isn't the discipline. So we're trying to figure out what the balance is, and it is definitely an area for improvement for us. Thanks for that feedback. If you had the ability to pick any project you wanted to partner with us on, what would that be? What would that look like? And can you talk about some of the technology innovations that you bring along the way?
Yeah, if I had the ear of super important people within the Air Force and they said, "Hey, this is really cool. Let's go do something cool, great together." What I would suggest is let's find a very hard location to build in, number one, and let's find a type of building or 3D printed structure, whether it's a house, a barrack, or whatever, that is complicated to do. So very hard environment for construction and a complicated print. And the reason I say that is the benefit for us as an early stage company, anytime we can push something to an extreme, whether that's environmental extreme, like the heat, the cold, the dust, the temperature variations throughout the day, all that kind of stuff, that pushes our engineering to a point where everything in the middle suddenly becomes a lot more achievable, more like a layup shot. And I would say the same thing for the complexity of the structure. The amazing thing about 3D printing is that everything doesn't have to be a right angle. You know, every barrack that you've ever been in has just been a bunch of right angles. And with additive manufacturing, you can print complex geometries that have a purpose. They withstand blast loads better. They can withstand higher winds, like a hurricane type environment better. All of that with 3D printing. And if beggars can be choosers, and I could do something even more romantic than pick a hard place and a hard thing to print, I'd really want to do some work with the Air Force on advanced mixes. And I think if you minimize their technology, you're like, okay, they're using concrete and a giant printer and they're printing things, and whether that's barracks or houses or whatever. And I'm happy to show you some pictures if you're interested in seeing those. But if you think about it a little bit more detailed, like we can control at the molecular level what these structures are made out of. So if you're like, okay, that structure just needs to be the base structure, great. That structure over there needs to handle blast loads. Okay, push that button on that iPhone, and you're going to get a structure that's fundamentally different. That structure is going to house sensitive electronics. So let's EMP proof that structure. That structure is going to handle vertical takeoff and landings, and so it needs to handle like significant jet blast. The materials design within what we're doing is one of the secret sauces, and I think one of the most powerful things that we can unlock with this technology, on top of like really advanced robotics as well. So
yeah, so you're not just a robotics company. You're definitely innovating on the mix side with concrete mixes, the things you can do, EMP protections. That's awesome. You mentioned pictures. If you have some pictures, I would love to see what you got. That'd be really slick.
I'll just humor me for like 2 seconds, okay? And I'll show you kind of what we're talking about here. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But when we're talking about 3D printing, in case there's anybody in the audience that's like looking it up on their phone, what we're using is concrete, and we can control the bead of the concrete down to 1/16 of an inch. And so we call this layered engineering. And you just upload a file, just like a CAD file, and you push print. This is the first house that we 3D printed. Now we have new robotic systems that are 3D printing multiple houses, multiple buildings at the same time. This happens to be 3 different structures that were 3D printed at the same time. It's all controlled on an iPhone or a tablet. We have reach back capability, so you can be doing this anywhere in the world, and if something happens, you just the person at stateside knows exactly what to do. And these are some homes that we did. You could obviously do something more military focused, but the reason we use concrete is because it's incredibly powerful, and you can find it anywhere in the world. And so we wanted to use a material that we could get anywhere. All right, military applications. This is the fun part. You know, within the military, much like residential construction, because we're a dual use technology, like there's a 1-for-1 here, which is to say the military has had very little innovation for the past 100 years when it comes to how just structures. And so we've still got tents, we've still got corrugated metal buildings, we have plywood V-huts, but I think we can do so much better with advanced manufacturing techniques. And so we think that the future of military construction, or the vast majority of it, is going to be robotics and automated. For combat, disaster, training, and humanitarian, there's a lot more applications of this technology, but those are just a few. And so you can imagine a world where you could just ship this by ground, sea, or air in a 20-foot Connex box, set up within about an hour, pull out your iPhone, and you're ready to go. Just click on whatever you need to print. And the dream here, and that we've proven that this is possible, is that we want to give warfighters and soldiers the capability to print whatever they want, whenever they want to. You don't need to like wait on a ton of logistical things to come true, or contract with, you know, a local population to get Texas barriers. You just do it yourself. So whether it's barracks, vehicle hides, fighting positions, towers, bridges, barriers, all those can be uploaded almost like a library to the warfighter's phone, so that they can do what they need to do. Here's a rendering of a forward operating base. Just, we can do that.
So your expectation is that the technology is actually in the warfighter's hands. They're not contracting Icon to come out and build this. They're saying, here's an app, design what you want, hit print, and it starts printing. Exactly.
I mean, especially where we operate in the world, we want to create a technology that's so easy to use that a warfighter can pick this up in a very short amount of time and do what they need to do. It would be almost like us trying to fly an F-35 for you or something. It's like, hold on, no. Just give us the technology and show us how to do it, and then we got it. And so our long-term goal would be just like sell or lease this type of equipment to the DoD. So this is a project that we did at Camp Pendleton last week. And the cool thing about this is that the warfighter did pretty much all of it. We showed them how to do it, and then they printed an entire HIMARS vehicle hide by themselves, which was really neat. This is a capability that they wanted. And this is a kind of a fun shot of our team that was out there and the 3D printer that printed it. So hopefully that gives you an idea, like a visual idea of what we're talking about with this technology. So.
Very cool. So I know we're running up on time here. I thank you so much for being able to sit down and have this fireside chat with us. We definitely believe that 3D printing is somewhere coming in our future very quickly right at us. Like, we need to get on this technology. You guys are leading the way. Thank you for your time, Evan. I really, really appreciate it.
You bet. And I just need to say thank you to you, Swath, everybody that I've had the privilege of meeting within AFWERX have blown my mind in terms of like their speed, their open-mindedness, their orientation to innovation. The fact that it hasn't been done before is like attractive, so to speak. Yeah. Obviously, Dr. Roper and Lowell and General Monson, like all these folks have been very instrumental in our journey thus far. And so with this new StratFi contract that we were fortunate to receive, we're just like really excited about a cool future with you guys in the Air Force. So anyway, our team is very grateful. So thank you.
Hey, thanks, Evan, and catch you next time out in Austin.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.